We made it.
Hey,
hello. Hi, everybody.
Hey, great intro music.
I love that.
Me too.
Just gets me excited on a Saturday morning.
Of course, I have my iPad in front of me, but I forgot to put down the music. So maybe you heard some of that nice heavy metal. I apologize for that. I'm still, getting going on multiple streaming issues here. So I'm going to turn down the volume on my iPad. So we had a bit of a pilot error, but thank you, everybody. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely.
Woot. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Let me... I lost my mouse. There it is. I always hate that when you start moving your mouse around and you're like, where'd it go? Found it.
Yeah.
I found it now. So we've got Joni Cummings saying hi, beautiful people. Well,
hey, Joni.
Hi, beautiful Joni. Hey. Let's see who else we've got. Oh, Steve Britton.
Hey, Steve.
This could be a good one,
Steve.
especially since I'm working in a Catholic church today. Goodness.
Wow.
That's appropriate and all.
Yeah.
I'm working in a Denver Steve-O church today. Let's see.
We all will become members soon, Steve-O.
Yes. Everybody be. Actually, I should just name it the Church of Xenu.
Hey, where's Mini Steve-O?
Yeah.
Mini
I'll
Steve.
I'll put out Mini Chad if you put out Mini Steve-O.
Well, it's I'm gonna have to hold him the whole time.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a stand for. Maybe I can see if I can set him. I guess there. That works.
Cool.
Doesn't it? There we go. I'm wearing the wrong hat.
Marilyn did an
I don't know
amazing
who's
job
who.
with that.
Didn't she? I know, right? Didn't she do
can't tell.
fantastic? Look at
So-
that.
Yeah,
so
she
very
did,
cool.
yeah.
Look at that. Yeah, the only thing
Chat
different
and
is
Love it.
I'm not wearing pants.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, pants are optional on the Nerdy Bunch, just to let everyone know.
Totally.
Leggings for the win.
Exactly.
Hey, Freezy
We're
new
equal
project.
opportunity.
Hey, Freezino.
Hey,
Hey, FXP.
Freezy,
Hey, John. Hey, John. Jonas is out there.
Oh, I haven't gotten to John yet.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
I just looking at my things and I see.
You ready for Monday, Chad? To the next in the John Sostowski series of excitement.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Been dying for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Monday night on the after show. Yeah, it's something pretty cool.
That'll be one I'll have to watch on Tuesday, but I will definitely get to it.
Yeah, no,
Cool.
it's
Same.
Yeah. I want to spoil it, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's just exciting.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah,
That'll be cool.
yeah. So, God,
How was
good
everyone's
grief.
week? Anything interesting?
Yeah, not too bad. Just working mainly, really.
Nice.
Yeah, finished a couple more instruments. Ready to go to the customers. One's already gone. So yeah, productive
Nice.
week.
Excellent.
But I'm now recovering and sleeping a lot of the weekend. So, how about you? How was your week?
Mine's been good. Yesterday evening was the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, so for us it's year 5784, and I was at the service last night. There's about 500 people, which is, there's only like, that literally is a pretty good percentage of the entire Jewish community in the whole country, actually. So so it was really, really nice. And Rosh Hashanah, of course, is our new year. And we usually celebrate it by eating apples and having honey and a whole bunch of stuff like that. And it was really cool. And the next one is Yom Kippur, which people who aren't Jewish will sometimes say to Jewish people, Happy Yom Kippur, but it's actually a very somber day because it's the day we confess our sins and fast and all that. But it does lead to a couple other good holidays like Sukkot and Simchat Torah, which are in October, and they're really nice. So this is kind of the start of our year, and it's great. And then, of course, I also started my new semester, my semester just recently, and seems to be going good so far. So all is good.
Cool,
That's great.
cool. Reminds
Nice.
me of a linguistic nerd thing that I thought of earlier. So the Hebrew word Rosh means head, right?
I think so.
Which
have
is
to forgive me.
cognate with the Arabic ras. And ras as in, what's the word? Ras el Tanuf, which is the head of the shop, which is the North African spice mix, if you like tagines and that sort of thing.
Oh. Yeah, I'm afraid my Hebrew is not great. So yeah, stuff like that I'm a little less educated on. But yeah, we say when we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, we say La Shana Tova. Of course, that means like Happy New Year, Happy Festival, really, because it's a festival. So
Okay.
are saying, yeah. And then otherwise you say good. So in Hanukkah, I might say good Hanukkah or something, or Lashana Tova. But yeah, it's pretty cool. But I wish I knew more
Cool.
Hebrew for sure. And yeah, it's really interesting. I do find that, yeah, Hebrew is a Semitic language and so is Arabic. And it's actually really interesting how two phrases that are very common, which is Shalom Aleichem and Salam
Salam
Alaikum, they
alaikum.
sound very close.
Yes.
Yeah, they sound very close.
Yeah.
They mean peace be with you, and they're both start with S, first word, and then A is the second word, and they're both cognates. So it's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah. I guess it's all about the templates, isn't it? Because Semitic languages have like 3 consonant templates, which things slot into.
That I'm not sure. You forgive me again.
Okay,
Forgive me with the structure
yeah.
here. I apologize, but I'll say yes because Joe, I'm sure it's correct.
Hey, don't bank on it. I made a mistake in one of the previous ones actually. The previous stream. Maybe I should correct. So I previously said that Hungarian was a member of the Ugaric language family. It turns out
Ugric.
it's a member of the Ugric language family, which is part of the Uralic family, the bigger family. And
Oh, hey,
Ugaric
Charlie.
is instead the name of a magic mushroom. So
Oh well, I mean, I'm sure some ancient
got them mixed
Hungarians did
up.
those.
Hey,
Yeah,
Kelly.
no worries. Yeah,
Cal.
Ugric, and then some people say Ugrian. Yeah, it's weird,
Oh, I've
but
not heard
we're
that one.
actually that
Okay.
reminds me too. I think next week we're going to do, or I'm going to do a PowerPoint on what are called like secular or non-theistic religions and secular philosophies, just to round the whole thing up. Because today we're talking about different theological stances, so we're going to talk about things ranging from atheism to agnosticism to humanism to Confucianism, different kinds of Buddhism. We kind of touched a little bit on that last time with non-theistic religions, but I'd go over it in a little more detail. And then I think the week after, I'd like to do a Hungarian language. And what I think I'm going to also do is I'm going to take an English sentence and then I'm going to like translate it and show you the grammar of Hungarian and why it's like really, really different, and your brains will hopefully not explode too much, but I think it will be great.
That would be
Because
fascinating.
it's the language is just very different when it comes to syntax and phonology and all these kinds
Agglutinative,
of
right?
fun linguistic words. Yeah, it's agglutinative, and agglutinative is
Yeah.
a really cool thing. But for Indo-European speakers, except for Armenian, they agglutinate because of the Turks.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll be thinking differently, and that's the whole point of what we're doing here. So
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent.
Kelly, I hope you're feeling better. That's
Oh, Kelly,
Yeah, it's
no
not
way.
not a good update.
I'd ship you chicken noodle soup, but I think it would go bad by the time it got there. So
Yeah.
Get well
yeah,
soon, Kelly.
yeah. Please rest up and yeah,
Yeah.
we need our Kelly at 100%. Damn it.
Yep.
That's
Videos
true.
are not going to edit themselves. And by the way, in a very good way, too. And an
That's right.
excellent, wonderful way, too.
Oh yeah, she's not worthy.
Yes.
Wonderful. Who else we have? I kind of blew by a couple of hellos from Grand Theft Hoopy. So hi, Grand Theft Hoopty, and oh shoot, who else was there? Oh god, now we've got a bunch of them. Evelyn, sorry, hi Evelyn. Lori H is here. Look at that. Hi, Lori H.
Hey.
Lori H saying hey to Chad. The Joel McCoy. Howdy, friends. Big Day. Mini Chad. Mini Stevo. Yeah. Not Mimi Stevo, but Mini Stevo. That's it. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that with the shirt. Yeah.
Amazing.
Chad, that is quite the collection.
Chad
Hey,
has, yeah.
John asked for that.
Yeah.
We're all from him except Mini Chad. And Clearwater Claire gave me this guy, this Deaton and this heart here.
No,
Oh, very cool.
that's really nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. I'm jealous I don't have a Clearwater Claire Thetan.
Hey,
If
got
you
your
decide-
mini-
If you decide to read out Joe Anderson's comment, I'm happy to pronounce that for you.
Worcestershire.
Yeah.
I'm
Worcestershire.
glad. Worcestershire. Yes. No, I'm glad.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
The only English accent I enjoy speaking in is Cockney. I don't know why. I just love it. Like, it's just great to say, I'm glad I had tomato soup and Worcestershire sauce, which is a terrible Cockney accent, but tomato, you know, you drop the L
Tomato.
all the time. Tomato.
Tomato.
Little. I have a little bit of tomato soup. Little tomato. I love it. I love it. Might not be good, but I love it. I mean, my accent. that is.
How's your Cockney rhyming slang?
You know, growing up, I used to watch EastEnders, and that's how I got into it. We
Ah.
EastEnders. We're in class. You know that kind of stuff. Love it. And then you got Michael Caine. It's also Cockney. I just love it. I don't know what it is
Michael
about it, but
Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah. But that's the
Hi,
type I
Laurie.
love doing. I wish I could do more English accents. The Yorkie I enjoy, but so far I'm centered on Cockney because I just brings back good memories of EastEnders after school.
Yes,
have a-
Kelly.
We have a
Up
real
the
live
apples and pears,
Scientology
governor.
here. What? Whoa! What?
So I was reading out Kelly's comment. Carry on.
No. What was the response? I sorry, I was talking over you. And
I think I was talking over you as well. Sorry. Kelly said, "What is it? Up the apples and pears, governor.
Yes, Governor.
Up the apples and
nice.
pears, governor. There we go.
Pip,
There's Cockney rhyming
Kyrie.
slang.
Okay.
I love
Oh,
I love it.
Carini,
It was
hi,
like
hi,
Governor.
Carini.
It's so weird to call someone Governor. I love it.
Where is?
Oi,
There
Karina,
it is.
tudo bem?
Sorry, I found Kelly's there. To the
Got
Cockney.
Juliana.
Let's hear that Cockney. Up the apples and pears, Governor.
My goodness.
I love it.
Gotta
I
give
love
it more
I
of a
actually-
governor.
Governor. And you're dropping the H.
So folks,
I love-
screw the presentation today. We're just going to talk. We're just going to talk in
We're gonna-
funny accents.
We're going to do a geographical observation of the English accent.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go from hoity-toity kind of, British posh, and we're going to go all the way up to the Geordie, and no one will understand what we're saying by the end of
Oh my
the
God.
the end of the episode. We'll all be speaking like Newcastleians, and no one will understand us.
Spock approves.
I like
And we
the
should do it based on what they call a bread roll in the various
Yeah.
areas.
And
And I've offended half the country there by calling it that.
try Jason Statham. No.
Hey, don't worry. I can get into my Canadian accents to balance it out as well and start talking like I'm really from Canada.
E,
Eh?
what's this all about?
How's it going, eh? What's it about, eh? We'll balance it out. We'll balance everything out. Don't worry. We won't pick on the UK people. We'll do that. We'll go into Canada. Eh?
On the first day of Christmas, my girlfriend gave to me a beer.
A beer. Yeah.
Oh, somebody's at the door.
Yeah, it's probably Chaz, his friend.
Oh,
It's for you.
I'll tell him to get it. Hold on.
I'm
Funny.
sorry, eh? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
that's funny. Sorry, it's my scrolling is slow here today. It's not actually the
I know,
scrolling.
don't worry.
My eyes are still so. Wednesday, I went. Some of you guys know this. Wednesday, and I'll keep this story short because we do have to talk today about stuff. Wednesday seems like Wednesday. Wednesday feels right. Wednesday, everybody, yeah. So Wednesday, more Wednesday. Anyone? I had a doctor's appointment. I've had some issues that I've just been taken care of with my left eye. But this last weekend, all of a sudden, I had these goofy floater things popping into my right eye. And so Wednesday, I actually had an eye appointment scheduled. So it was kind of a check back up from the left eye thing. Lisa Left Eye Lopez, but for all you TLC fans out there, don't go chasing waterfalls. Yeah. Sorry, Chad, don't go chasing waterfalls.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was like, only on Clearwater Chad's channel.
Only on Clearwater Chad show, absolutely. So I go in, and apparently I had a blood vessel burst in my right eye. So I got and he still wanted to check the left eye. So I got this. I got dilated and all numbed up in both eyes. And then he decides, okay, left eye, yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that. You'll come back in a while and we'll look at that again. Right eye, sorry, keep getting these confused. Right eye over here. Yeah, we need to do something to that. So apparently there's a medication, and the way this medication works is, folks, it is injected into your eye.
Wow.
So numb the hell out of it. You can still feel the little pressure and the oomph and, the little thing. And then all of a sudden there's swirlies because you see the whatever medication floating in there. And then by the time I left, I had these little, I'm not trying to gross people out. I had these little like beads of fluid that were sitting there. And apparently it's kind of like a slow acting thing. And it's supposed to, over time, clear the floaties that are in there. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm not an eye doctor. I trust the guy. He's done good by me before. So, and once it all settles, I'm going to go back and he's going to like play Star Wars to my eye. He's going to go zap lasers to actually close out where the things are. So, and that I've had that before. Headaches galore as he's going do into your eye, and it's just like shooting pains into the top of your head. But anyway, so I still have these crazy little floaters that are, but they're going away. So to everyone who wished me well on the other side when I canceled the Thursday thing, yes, I'm doing better. I'm still fighting a little bit here, but we're definitely on the right track. And then in about a month, I'm going to go get my eyes laser. My eye, he's going to go laser my eye. I wish it was just LASIK, so I didn't have to wear the glasses either. But no, it's like medical lasering. So anyway, Kelly says Geordie is one of the hardest accents, I think.
Agreed.
And in Canada, we have our own version of Geordie. It's called the Newfoundland accent. Oh. If you ever go to Newfoundland is a very tough accent. that just like the Geordies, no one else in the whole country understands. And it's extremely Irish. And it's just like they're like speaking another language.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's a message for Karen Starr.
Okay. Okay. Before I get to whatever that message was, hey Daniel, everybody said Daniel's here. Good to see
Daniel.
Mr. Sander in the audience.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, hello, Dan.
Yeah. What was the other one? I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Riding on the passenger side of his best friend's ride. Had to holler at me. And there you go.
I love the intro to that song too. It's a good one. When she just lays it out, like what a scrub is. It's amazing.
Oh yes, yes. Oh my god.
She's like scrubbed as a guy, and then he kind of like whatever. He doesn't have a job or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, absolutely, man. And then just sing, man. Get all the info out first within the first like 30 seconds, and then I just want you to sing the chorus. It's
Absolutely.
And put a 1 in the
Great
comments
structure
if
for
you
this
think
one,
I should clip out Steve-O singing and make a song of it.
I will do that, and I'll put that up tomorrow, the next day.
Nice.
There we go. I just voted 1 from everybody on this side. So
Cool.
I would make an awesome short, wouldn't I?
It's a lot of ones.
I'm
Actually,
going to
can we
put
do
some music
this?
on it.
Here, just hide me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is the guy that can't get no love from me. There you go. Now I got mini Steve-O singing it. Sorry, not
Yep.
mini Chad.
That's right.
Mini Chad's always quiet.
Upgrade.
I think Mini Chad would be more of an opera singer. I don't know why. I
Yeah.
just feel
Oh, I think
he
you're
would
right.
do a good Wagner. He would do a very good Wagner. Get that. Yeah, exactly. Get that German Siegfried type of operatic, very heavy stuff. But that's just my opinion.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
all
I
these
agree.
ones. Freezinu, you can't vote twice. 3 times. Yeah. Oh, Karen's in it. All right. John. Yeah. I think it's 1. So
Yeah.
What's this?
Thus it should be. The people have voted.
Yeah.
Berliner Schnauzer.
Berliner Schnauzer.
Berliner Schnauzer.
Berliner Schnauzer war. Entschuldigung, habe es nicht verstanden.
Yes. Ich bin ein Berliner. I am a jelly donut. Isn't that right? The tense was actually wrong, or the part of that sentence is actually wrong to the point where instead of saying I am a Berliner, he said I am a jelly donut.
So, well, it's not. I guess it's not technically wrong, but it's the fact that a Berliner also means this type of cake of some sort.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Or Berliner.
I was thinking it was Ein versus Einer or Einen or one of the other, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm rusty on the grammar on that. It's possible.
Yep.
We appear to have lost Mark, so I guess we're not doing the thing quite yet, but never mind.
So yeah, we lost Mark for a second here. We'll get him back, but I love this. Zero Dan Kelly approves of mini Denver Steve-O shorts.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's gonna happen now. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's funny. That is hilarious. There it is. Zero Dan Kelly in the house. Oh yeah.
And hello to Christ Anxiety, who's on my channel.
Oh, cool.
Oh, hey Brandy. Your Mark was frozen. He is on his way. There he is.
Yeah, it's gonna happen if that cuts off. I don't know why it does this. It's just sometimes my internet is not as stable. Plus, I'm running to my iPad as well, so
Ah.
Who knows? But if that happens when I'm
Good
doing my
comments at all.
presentation, just wait a few minutes. I'll be back.
Oh, we'll make it up
But,
while
yeah.
you're gone.
Yeah, it's all good.
So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. Yeah, so today, absolutely, this is this is the Nerdy Bunch, and kind of excited for this for what Mark's got in store today. We are I will let him explain much better than I the varieties of theological stances, but at this point, did I miss anybody there? We got hold on, I gotta clean some stuff up. Oh, Liz, sorry, I missed Liz Ferris. Liz Ferris in the house. Hi, welcome, Liz. Always great to have Liz in.
Yeah.
So saw you with Poe last night. Fantastic. Saw you with Poe last night, and then went downstairs and like I do on almost every Friday evening, I passed out on my couch watching Netflix, and I am depressed because I now have to go back and we lost Mark again. I now have to go back and figure out where in Depp v. Heard on Netflix I dozed off. I love the fact I don't know if you guys have seen this, and since Mark is we're getting Mark back here, it looks like he froze up. Pop him off screen there. Somebody took the entire Depp v. Heard trial. That would be John Christopher Depp versus Amber Lynn Heard. Good God, I'm a nerd to this. Oh my God, pop culture. And took the whole thing and like edited it. That just sounds wrong. Into a series. So if you've got that, if that's in your geography of Netflix, do check it out. It's
Nice.
It's so many people that we know from YouTube have little appearances. It's done as a documentary. Clips are taken from all over the place. So what's her name? The goofy lawyer chick with the sunglasses that I watch so often, I should remember her name right now. So many people that you just bump into on YouTube. They're on this. Plus, real news and I don't know. Anyway, however you felt about Depp v. Heard, it's definitely a limited series to check out. So, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you all to
Moi. Hopefully my internet again will be stable through this, but thank you guys so much. So before we get into it again, if there's a pop off or whatever, it usually just takes a few minutes to get back in. So I appreciate the time in between. Thank you again for that. I did put up my slides again. I never know how to put them up. I think does Steve-O or do Chad? I can't remember how you guys. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Oh,
I didn't realize you couldn't
Yeah.
add those to the stage. So my apologies. Yeah, no.
I don't think so. Anyway, maybe there's something I'm forgetting. It's not a big deal, but I do appreciate it. So I this is sort of a bit of a smaller, shorter version of something that I did with Doug Scott Kramer, I think earlier in the year, which was a really, really great and really, really nice time that I had with him, talking about different theological stances after we did a bunch of different videos. And so even before I get started, I always like to say that, when I'm defining these terms and these words as per their philosophical or philosophy definition and as per their dictionary definition, but that does not negate anyone's colloquial definitions. Of course, colloquialisms are words and phrases that we might use in casual expression, which doesn't negate anything. And sometimes, words have multiple meanings, and so we use them in different ways. And so, if there's a word here that you have a different perspective on or a different idea on, it doesn't mean that it's wrong, just because I have there's a different different definition here. And the other thing is, depending on whatever philosophical or theological stance that you have. Next week, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to go over different non-theistic religions and secular philosophies. But just a pet peeve of mine, and I don't know why this is. There's nothing against the people who feel this way, but I sometimes have found through popular, internet and popular figures where sometimes people are presented with a question, and it's like, do you believe in God, yes or no? And if you say yes, you're automatically a theist, and if you say no, you're automatically an atheist. And then they say, do you is there a God? If you automatically say yes, you're Gnostic. And if you're automatically say no, you're automatically agnostic. And that's certainly fine. Like, obviously, that's a kind of a new way of kind of looking at it within the past 15 to 20 years. But this is just taking some, you know, ideas and kind of expanding on it into more variety. And so I guess, maybe it's a little pet peeve of mine, and that's not necessarily meaning that it's wrong, but I do find it just very interesting that way. Like, there's only two ways to look at certain things, and I just think that there's more than two ways, and that's okay, because my whole approach is to give people more options. That's my agenda. So my agenda is not to judge anybody. My agenda is not to, I'm not trying to contradict someone's personal experience. And if you feel that kind of idea of, well, someone's either a theist or an atheist, then okay, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to expand some of the definitions. So I also have to go through that first, because this is obviously not a personal attack. This is just meant to be knowledge. But we're going to start off and with, again, these many varieties of theological stances. And so, what is a theological stance? Is just, in this case, it's when people say that they may believe in a God. What do they mean by that? Okay, what kind of God are they talking about? Are they all talking about the same kind of God or not? And so, what we'll notice is that there are many different types. And so, believing that there's only one form or one type of God, whatever that is, might be right for some people, but it might be wrong for others. So, the first thing I want to do is define the term theism. And so, colloquially speaking, many people look at the term theism and they will say that theism is just any type of belief in any type of God. So one would be considered a theist if they just believe in a God or whatever. But the actual sort of dictionary and philosophical definition goes a little bit deeper. So theism is the belief in a god or gods, that they exist, or one or more exist. But there is this idea, this sort of inference, if you want to say, of very specific descriptions about God. So the first one is when someone calls themselves or identifies as a theist, what they really mean is that they believe in a personal God. So what is a personal God? Well, a personal God is a God that can hear human prayers, that God will interact with the universe at some level, that they will control some aspects of destiny, and then it also implies what's called corporeal. So if we go back to my Deep Space Nine um, PowerPoint, the prophets are non-corporeal beings. So that meant they didn't have a body or a form. Well, some people will think that in this case, if someone is a space theist, that God would have a body, and that God tends to be anthropomorphic, which means that, God would look like human beings. And certainly there are people who believe this, right? My idea is that there's just more approaches to this, that it's not this or the complete opposite, that there actually is a middle, there's some nuances, and there's some gray area. So remember, if somebody says, are you a space theist? They're basically could be asking you if you just believe in any kind of God, totally fine. But more specifically, they're asking you if you believe in a personal God. And of course, we have many religions that believe in personal gods. Of course, there are people who aren't religious who believe in personal God or gods, and that's totally fine as well. So that's the first thing. Once we solve that question, once we get into that question, we then get into the number of gods, and this is also something that is that has a lot of different types. So, what is monotheism, right? Monotheism is the first type. So once we've asked someone if they believe in God or do they think there's a God or whatever, the second question we can ask is, well, how many gods do you think there are? Like in your opinion, let's say somebody says one, right? One God, they mean monotheism. And monotheism, of course, by definition, is the belief in the existence of one deity or in the oneness or uniqueness of God. And I put this photo here because this is the sort of stereotypical old white man with a beard who lives in the sky or whatever. And that certainly is, whether or not that was, literal, because we also talked a couple weeks ago about literal biblical literalism versus, the metaphors. Whatever it is, it seems to be that there are definitely aspects of God, past or present, where God is looking like a gigantic old man in the sky. And that tends to be for some people when they ask, do you believe in God or not? It's like, do you believe in the gigantic humanoid man who lives in the sky or not? And again, for me, it's always very strange because I always like to ask, what is my third option? And I'm just giving you guys not only third options, but other options. So, of course, again, monotheism is very popular in different world religions: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Sikhism, and so forth. But it's very rare that even those groups may actually see God as the image on the right. So we have to be very careful that if we're defining what God is, we can't just define God as the picture on the right. We have to take into account all the different types and characteristics of what God is. The reason is because God's a word, and it's a word like most words. Many words have many different meanings, and they have many different meanings to many different people, which may, be personal or have a different cultural aspects and so forth. So just to note that. So if you say you believe in a God, someone says you believe in one God, and it's a personal God, as I mentioned before here. So there are people who believe in a personal God, interacts with the universe, controls destiny, has a body and a form, looks like a human, then monotheism is definitely part of that if you answer one.
Put in the
Now,
chat
there
how
are
tall you
actually
think God is.
exactly.
How
Yes.
tall is that giant God? Just throw it in the
Who
chat.
knows? Yeah. The winner gets a prize. Um, we'll get a pool going. But it's also should note that there are different types of monotheism. It's not, and again, this just the different aspects of this word. So there are again ideas within ideas. 413, yeah. I think well, in Scientology it would be whatever David Miscavige's height is, I guess, or whatever L. Ron Hubbard's height was. Um, but there are different types of monotheism. So again, once you say you believe in a God or you think there is a God, you think there's one, well, what type? And so here we have three distinctive different types of monotheism. The first one, which I think a lot of people might be more familiar with, especially if they grew up in certain religions that tend to be more like fundamentalist or conservative or exclusivist or whatever. And this is called exclusive monotheism. So this is the belief that there's only one deity and all other claimed deities, meaning that if we look all the way back to the past, and I'll always give these examples of the multiple, like the polytheism of, let's say, the Greeks and the Romans and all that kind of stuff, that those deities are distinct from the one deity and that they're false. So I would say that it's probably one of the more popular among certain religious denominations who would look at their one God, like especially I think of like evangelical Christians, fundamentalist Christians, who would say that like Saturn and Mars and Zeus and Hades, they were all wrong because there's always just been one God, and they might make some excuses about evil and whatever else, and how they were just incorrect and they weren't hearing God's voice or whatever. And certainly, I think a lot of people who grow up in religions, possibly, in the United States, but also in various parts of the world, even though they might be taught an exclusive monotheistic view of God, they might not even know the term exclusive monotheist. Again, we're getting into this philosophy kind of stuff where even a church that practices this, people who are followers of this might not know the term. And this is why I'm doing this, because to put this into a framework. But I will say, in contrast to that, there's also something called inclusive monotheism. I would probably say that this is more um, the theology or the beliefs of more liberal churches, maybe more mainline churches and different denominations and religions, because it believes that there is only one deity, but that all other claimed deities are just different names for it. So you can kind of think of that as more of an inclusive liberal kind of idea, where someone who might believe in one God would look back on the gods that we had in the past, like again Zeus and Saturn and all of them, and say, yeah, well, that was just humanity's, way to express their faith. And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily right or wrong, but in the end, that person who makes that claim may just believe in one. So that's why it's called inclusive, because the idea is that it doesn't exclude any other ideas about God from the past or even in the future. So again, more mainline and liberal denominations, especially in Christianity, Judaism, etc., would most likely believe in this. But the final form of monotheism is called monolatry. And this is the belief in the existence of many gods, but with the consistent worship of just one deity. So, what's really interesting about this is coming from a Jewish perspective. In Jewish history, when the Hebrew people were putting together their idea of monotheism, they were pretty much one of the first, not the first, but one of the first groups of individuals in the area of what's called the Levant or the Middle East, where they believed, in having one God, or we believed in having one God. But the people around them, the ancient Egyptians, ancient Canaanites, and other type of people, had multiple gods. And so there were some really early Jewish thinkers who said, okay, well, the people around us that have their polytheism, okay, they have their multiple gods, but we as the Hebrew people are simply going to worship one. Now, of course, that's different today because things evolve, and as Judaism has evolved, it's become much stronger in the monotheism. But at least originally, that is kind of what was a part of it. So think of someone who worships and believes in one God or one deity, but they don't necessarily deny the fact that there could be other gods. I also do want to say that I'm going to make some comparisons with Hinduism. Hinduism has a lot of different, you know, uh, different viewpoints on God, multiple viewpoints, and this is one of them. So if someone is Hindu, they might worship one deity, right? They might choose one, like let's say they worship Shiva, but obviously there's a pantheon of lots and lots of different gods, and so in the Hindu sense, it's also pretty consistent. And there are people who identify as monotheistic Hindus as well, and they might be more what's called monolatry. So moving on from that, some cultures believed in two gods. Okay, this is called bitheism, right? Mono means one, bi means two. And bitheism is the belief in two gods, and this takes different forms. So in this photo, we actually have a statue of a Scandinavian god and a Scandinavian goddess. And when I looked at this photo, I got it from a particular group that I'm not sure if they are in Scandinavia or in America. I've forgotten that point. However, this particular group worships this one god and this one goddess. And so, if that's the case in many pagan or many other religions, then that is part of it. The other thing is that sometimes these gods can take the form of one good god and one evil god. And in Christianity, it's kind of interesting because if Satan was a god, then Christianity would be bitheistic because they would have the one loving God up in heaven, and then they would have the one evil God down in hell. Of course, Satan is considered, Lucifer, Satan is considered a fallen angel, so it's not really a god. However, um, there are groups of religions called Gnostics, and they're kind of have some small revivals in contemporary times. There's also some Middle Eastern religions like the Mandeans and other groups that are from the Middle East that are considered Gnostic. But way, 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 way back in the day, just after Christianity began, there were some Christian Gnostic groups. Some of this is going to sound very much like Scientology for those that have studied any kind of Scientology. But the idea is that they have one God, which was the creator of the spiritual universe. And then they have a God that is the creator of the material universe. So the God that is the creator of the spiritual universe is the good God, and the bad God is the creator of the material universe. And so why that God is bad is because when that God created the material universe, he trapped our spirits into the material universe. And so Gnosticism, the gnosis or the gnosis, the knowledge, is for us to get into a higher state of being so we can become more spiritually aware. And again, L. Ron Hubbard stole the crap out of this stuff. Anyone who knows anything about the Thetans and what we're trying to do, it's basically Gnosticism. And then there also can be a God that represents light and darkness, and as I mentioned here, male and female. But the real takeaway is that bitheism is the belief in two gods. And of course, there have been many different traditions, whether they were pagan traditions in the Middle East and even across the world, that have believed in this, not just in the past, but also in the present. Polytheism, of course, is a big one. Poly, of course, means multiple or many. And polytheism is the belief in or worship of multiple gods, usually assembled in a pantheon. These gods are usually distinct and separate beings and are often seen as like human, so anthropomorphic, in their personality traits, but with additional individual powers, abilities, knowledge, or perceptions. One of the most, greatest example of this, as I mentioned before, is the Greek pagan religion, the Roman pagan religion, anything basically from Europe that was pre-Christian. So polytheism has been practiced in the pre-Jewish Middle East, the pre-Muslim West Asia, Central Asia, and of course the pre-Christian Europe. So the Germanic peoples, the Baltic peoples, the Celtic peoples, Greeks and Roman peoples. We can get into the Turkic peoples, the Iranian peoples, and so on. People from Central Asia, Hungarians, the Uralic peoples also had their own form of polytheism, and usually these gods and goddesses were described as being like the god of usually like an element, so fire, water, but they could also be of an emotion like laughter, happiness, and etc. And I think that this was just a really interesting expression for humanity and human beings. We were discovering kind of who we were and discovering the elements and discovering our emotions, and we assigned a deity, male or male and female, by the way, to these things. And so the oldest sort of religions that come out of our Homo sapien, collective consciousness are most likely polytheistic in some way. And there are multiple different types of polytheism. So the photo over here is of in a Hindu temple, and in a Hindu temple, these are the multiple gods, which, the word gods is kind of a Western term, but relatively, it's, I guess, the best way that we could describe it in these different forms. But there are three main forms of polytheism. So the first is called hard polytheism, and this is the belief in many gods and goddesses, which appear as distinct and independent beings, often in conflict with one another. Back to, if you've ever studied classics at a university, if you've ever read, the Odyssey, this is pretty much what the Greeks and the Romans would have believed, especially the Greeks, in their multiple stories of gods that would fight each other and so on. Soft polytheism, in contrast, is the belief in many gods and goddesses, which are manifestations or aspects of a single god. This definition is more connected to Hinduism, because in Hinduism, there is this idea of what is called Brahman. So Brahman is like an ultimate reality. And I'm going to get into some later slides onto the definition that fits Brahman better, better than polytheism. However, that single Brahman has a trinity, and the trinity is Brahma, who is the creator, Vishnu, who is the maintainer, and Shiva, who is the destroyer. And many of these gods in Hinduism are either reincarnations or avatars of those gods. So mostly Hinduism would fit into soft polytheism. In addition to that, there's also this idea of called henotheism, which also can fit into Hinduism. So henotheism is the devotion to a single god while accepting the existence of other gods and without denying that others can worship other gods. Very similar to monolatry in that way. There's some overlap there, but essentially, Hindus have multiple different theological stances, and when it comes to most of their denominations, they probably have somewhat, soft polytheistic or henotheistic beliefs. So in this case, again, we've sort of described, we've answered the question. So, do you believe in a personal God that interacts with the universe? Yes. Well, how many are there? 1, monotheism; 2, bitheism; and 3 or more, multiple polytheism. And many religions in the world will have some kind of stance about that, and so on. The other thing, though, which a lot of people sort of miss when we talk about theological stances, are what are called non-theistic views of God. And there are some people out there, especially in like Richard Dawkins, for example. Just a moment, I need a drink here. Excuse me. Who will say that these non-theistic views of God are all forms of atheism. The reason is that they believe that God is either the giant man or the many giant men and women, and they're supernatural and they're personal. And if you lack belief in that, then you're automatically an atheist. This is sort of the middle ground. Again, it doesn't mean that this is right or wrong. If somebody has that belief, I'm just trying to, introduce to a different concept. But in these non-theistic views of God, and the reason they're called non-theistic is because they are the opposite of the theistic views of God. So in this sense, when we talk about a non-theistic view of God, we're saying that God is not personal. So that means God does not hear prayers. God does not interact with humans or nature. God is incorporeal. So God does not have a body or a form. God does not look like a human. God does not have a gender or a sex. And God does not watch us all day, every day. And there are a lot of viewpoints about this. I will also say next week, and as I discussed last time when we talk about non-theistic religions and philosophies, remember that the term non-theist now has 2 different meanings. In this context, we're talking about non-theistic views of God. So think of what is on this list as that. When we're talking about non-theistic religions and philosophies, we're then talking about viewpoints that either reject the idea of God or they don't espouse belief in God. So then they don't talk about them, or they talk about things other than God. That's going to come next week. This week we just have these ideas. So think of theism as a personal God, belief in a personal God, interacting, has a body, looks like a human. Again, the big giant man or woman, whatever, in the sky. And then this is the opposite of that. So the first viewpoint that we get to is called deism. Deism, if anybody knows anything about the American founding fathers, many of the American founding fathers were deists, including Thomas Jefferson. So, what is deism? Well, deism is the belief that one God exists. So, in a sense, it overlaps with monotheism, but that this God does not intervene in the world and does not interfere with human life or the laws of the universe. So think of deism as a God existing and, again, non theistic. Doesn't interact, doesn't hear prayers. It's debatable whether or not they have a body or whatever, but that's essentially it. So for me, if you're defining God as a supernatural being, there either is that being or there isn't. Then what do you do with deism? Because I've actually heard people say that all deists are just atheists, but then deists believe in God. So I don't know how people reconcile that. And that's just a question. I'm not trying to pass any judgment, but I have heard these things before. And I just don't know why people who are deists, especially in the past, would be considered atheists today if they believe in God. So to me, that's just a little strange. And I just don't know. And so I'm just sort of posing that question. Maybe there's a reason that I don't know about, but that's what it is. And yes, it's not a supernatural being, but it's something that's in between those two things. Now, of course, there's different types of deism. So the first deism is called classical deism. Again, the deism of the Enlightenment and the founding fathers. So classical deism is the view that God is separate and distinct from the universe. Modern deism of today, most modern deists would believe that God does not live in our universe, but may also interact with it on some level. What this would mean is that God would come to the universe every once in a while to make sure that, the laws of physics are still working and then maybe go somewhere else. Neo-deism, this prefix means, of course, neo means new. And neo-deism is the view that God is not earth-centric, but rather the first cause of evolution and the Big Bang. The argument that they would make is that some people, and again, whether or not this is true or not is a matter of experience and belief and so forth. But some people would say, okay, they might believe in the Big Bang, they might believe in evolution, but there had to have been something that started it. They may not believe that it just happened by accident or by coincidence. And so a neo-deist would say, that's God. God started it, but then after that, nature took over. And then we're going to get into a couple of these beliefs that combine different versions of theism and non-theism. And in this case, we have polydeism. And this is the belief in multiple impersonal gods. So there have been cultures in the world that have expressed this. So they've believed in many gods, but they believe that those many gods don't interact with the universe, and they don't hear prayers. And so there have been cultures in the world that have believed this. The next one that we're going to is called pantheism. And pantheism is the view that God is equivalent to nature or the physical universe, that they are essentially the same thing, or that everything is an all-encompassing, immanent, abstract God. There's a little cut off there, so I apologize for that, but it should say abstract God. And the photo, of course, on the right shows that pan, going back to these prefixes, pan means all, and I believe it's in Latin. So all theism, all is God. One criticism of this that comes from Richard Dawkins is that pantheism is just sexed up atheism. I disagree with that, but again, this is just an opinion. Maybe it's true. I don't know. But there are definitely some philosophical distinctions, I believe, between pantheism and atheism, because even though in this case, again, God is not a gigantic supernatural being, God is the same as the universe. So it's one of those things where they believe in God, but they don't believe God is a gigantic supernatural being. And so again, it's debatable. This is all, all open. There's no judgment here. It's just those are just things that I've heard, and so I'm repeating them to open the discussion, of course, afterwards. So it would be interesting to hear if people, agree with that statement that, about pantheism or not, but that's at least the idea. And there are different types of pantheism. So the classical pantheists begin with a gentleman named Baruch Spinoza. And Baruch Spinoza was born in the Netherlands. I believe he was born in Amsterdam. At least he grew up there. His family were exiles from Portugal. They were Sephardic Jews that were exiled in 1497, so 5 years after the reconquest of Spain. Portugal did a reconquest. And he put together this idea of pantheism, all is God. And what he and many of the early pantheists, or the classical pantheists, believe is that God was a personal, conscious, and omniscient God. So omniscient means knows everything, or is all knowing, and that they see this particular God as uniting all religions. And then we have this idea of monism. So monism is a metaphysical and theological view that all is one, and that there is no fundamental division, and that a unified set of laws underlines all of life. So one of the big questions in pantheism, and I'm going to get into, actually, I'm going to ask that question after I define naturalistic pantheism. So the third option here is called naturalistic pantheism. And this believes that the universe is unconscious and non-sentient, so not alive, but is also a meaningful focus for mystical fulfillment. So in pantheism, there's another debate. In our universe, we obviously have what Scientologists would call MEST, matter, energy, space, and time. So a monist would believe that all matter, let's just say all the matter in the universe, is one source, and that one source is a spiritual source. A naturalistic pantheist would say all of that matter is just matter. It's just physical. It's not spiritual. Okay, but we can still be in awe of that. So we can still have a mystical focus. Maybe meditating, doing art, and whatever is something that we can connect to nature, even though it's not spiritual or not conscious. That's at least the idea. So then it comes down to, again, what do you think matter is made out of? Do you think we all belong to some large cosmic soul, or is it matter, but it's still important for some kind of mystical, fulfillment? And the last one here is a concept where we add and combine both pantheism and deism. And this is kind of a cool belief. It's actually really interesting. So pandeism believes that the universe is an unconscious and non-sentient God, but that God was previously conscious and sentient as a being, essentially a conscious and sentient being who designed and created the universe. God only became unconscious and non-sentient by becoming the universe. So if you think of a God that comes by, that God is conscious and sentient, and I guess the body of God, when God created the universe, the body of that God became the universe. And that's what we are today. Kind of a psychedelic kind of thing. When I talked about this with Doug, he said he wanted to drop acid and think about this. It kind of sounds kind of cool for some people, maybe a little bit new age, kind of blows your mind a little bit. But this is the great thing about expanding our our versions of what God is because who knows? I mean, maybe one of these things are true, maybe they're all false. I don't know. I have no clue, but I think that they're really interesting ideas. So that's pandeism. After this, we have what is called panentheism. And panentheism is the belief that the physical universe is joined to God, but stressing that God is greater than the universe. So when we think about pantheism, we think of God and the universe being the same. But when we talk about panentheism, we're talking about a dualistic approach where the same God, which is the universe, also transcends the universe. It's my belief anyway, and I could be wrong about this, but it's my belief that there are lots of monotheistic religions that probably fit this category more than just strict monotheism, especially in modern times. So I know that Hasidic Judaism, conservative Judaism, which is the denomination I'm in, Sikhism, the Baha'i faith, even many Christians and even Muslims, they probably fit this closer than, again, the giant supernatural being in the sky. Doesn't mean that everyone believes the same thing. It doesn't mean that everyone has that. There will be multiple perspectives within a different religion, but at least for many of those definitions of what we might call Hashem or Allah or whatever, this might be the one. And then when I mentioned Hinduism before, we have Brahman. Brahman is pretty much look like either pantheist or panentheist. Plus, in addition, they have those multiple gods. So again, it's something that may or may not exist. It's not a perfect definition. I also think that multiple religions and religious organizations will have multiple ways of looking at different gods. It can just come down to the different denomination or the different school, a different rabbi, a different priest or whatever, or theologian. But generally speaking, I think this is probably the most common when we think of monotheism. Now, there are, of course, different types of panentheism. The first one is called strong panentheism, and this is the belief that God is not only present in the material world, but that God also transcends the material world. In contrast, we have weak panentheism, which believes that God is present in the cosmos, but is not identical with it. We then have mystical panentheism, and this is something I find in Eastern religions, which is it's the belief that the material world is an illusion, and that there is only one transcendent ultimate reality. Maybe Buddhism could fit, certain brands of Buddhism could fit into this, maybe even Taoism, although Taoism tends to be pantheistic, and I also forgot to add, like, again, if we're Star Wars fans and we know the Force, we know the Tao, and that tends to be more pantheist. But there are certain brands of Buddhism that tend to be this mystical panentheism. And then we have a combination here, which is called panendeism. And this is the belief in a God who contains the whole universe, but who is also bigger than the universe, while also taking a hands-off approach to the maintenance of creation. So in this case, the example that I got when researching this idea was in indigenous practices. There is a concept of the Great Spirit. Now, it's not the same for all indigenous cultures, especially in North America. They might have polytheism, they might have something called animism, but there are some cultures, especially like in Canada, parts of the US, where an indigenous religion or an indigenous spiritual culture may have the Great Spirit. And this is the idea. So the Great Spirit is the universe, bigger than the universe, but also doesn't interact with the universe, is just sort of a part of it. So that is part of that, of panentheism. Now, here's a couple alternative views of God and gods that I think are also very interesting. The first one here is called autotheism. So autotheism is the viewpoint that divinity, whether external or internal, is inherently within one's self, and that one can become godlike. A couple of examples would be in some schools of Buddhism, the idea of bodhisattvahood. The Indian religion of Jainism would probably practice this to some degree. The Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, people must know that in the Mormon church, if one who is a man who is married and was sealed in the temple dies, that in the afterlife, you will become a god of another planet. And you will become the heavenly father and the heavenly mother of a new planet. This is something like autotheism. And then good old Scientology. We talked about that with Gnosticism, and it's definitely where the Thetans are going back to their godlike abilities. Well, absolutely, Scientology is autotheistic. Okay, so think of becoming godlike. And again, whether divinity is internal, so whether just it's in us or it's external, doesn't matter. The next one here is called maltheism or misotheism. In this case, mal of maltheism stands for malice. So maltheism or misotheism, both are the same, interchangeable, is the belief that a God exists but is evil. And strictly speaking, the term connotes an attitude of hatred towards God. If we look, of course, to the photo on the right, these are Satanists. Now, some Satanists are atheists and agnostic and other forms of non-theistic religions and sort of secular philosophies. But there are Satanists who worship Satan, and by doing so, they have a hatred towards God. There are also some people who may not necessarily be Satanists. They may literally just hate God. Because to be perfectly honest, as someone who was reading through what I would call the Hebrew Bible, which in Christianity and Islam would call the Old Testament, there are some good reasons to hate that God. Talk about slavery, we can talk about children, we can talk about sexism and all this kind of stuff, homophobia. So there are some good reasons to hate the God of that text. And so there are people who read those books, who look at that and they say, "How this doesn't make sense. Why would I like this God?" And again, that's a personal issue. If that's up to you, no judgment there. But obviously, there is people who just absolutely hate God, and that would be, or believe that God is evil rather than good, and that would be someone who is a maltheist or a misotheist. The next one, and this is the second last slide, is called omnitheism. So omnitheism, in this case, the omni prefix means everything. So omnitheism is the belief that every possible version of God or gods are true and can exist. And it is also the belief that all religions contain a core recognition of the same God. Mentioned before, inclusive monotheism. There's obviously an overlap with that. But if we think of an omnitheist, we think of someone who believes in every God and every religion. The example that I give on this is when I was also doing research for this, when I did my presentation with Doug, I found an article with the musician Chris Martin from Coldplay. He identifies as an omnitheist. And in the interview, he discussed his view of omnitheism. He said he believes in all the gods, Shiva, Saturn, name a god. He believes in all of them. And again, maybe we can think that that's contradictory. Maybe we can think that that's a little, foo-foo, new agey or whatever. But, there are people who believe this. And, I'm not an omnitheist, but again, I'm also not many of the things that I've listed before, and I'll list tomorrow, or I'll list next week. But again, it's still an interesting option. And then finally, this is an idea called transtheism. And the gentleman on the left is a German theologian. His name was Paul Tillich. And Paul Tillich coined the phrase transtheism. In this case, trans, of course, prefix means to transcend, to go above. And transtheism is a theological stance that is neither or neither theistic or atheistic, but is beyond both of them. It proposes that if God or gods exist, then God or gods go beyond all theologies that have been presented by human beings. It also proposes that if God or gods do not exist, then the non-existence of God or gods would go beyond atheism and all secular or non-theistic philosophies and religions. What this means is essentially whatever the truth is, whether there is a God or isn't a God, whatever human beings have proposed in the way of existence, like a theistic belief or a non-theistic belief, the actual nature of either would just simply transcend. And so I know the second part can seem a little strange, but the first part essentially just means we haven't yet put up an actual presentation or an actual idea of God that may actually exist. It goes beyond. So think of everything that I've talked about today. Someone like Paul Tillich would say, okay, we've got monotheism, bitheism, etc. We've got pantheism, we've got all these different things. If there really was a God, then God would go beyond all of those things. And next week, I'm going to talk about secular humanism, Confucianism, atheism, agnosticism, free thought, etc. Well, if God didn't exist, then the people who have proposed those ideas, there would still have to be the truth, essentially, whatever really is happening would go beyond those things. Because all of the ideas that I've presented here and that I'll present next week are human ideas. Now, again, whether or not it's true or not, it's just something that something to give you an introduction. My whole point on this is that we have options. So I find when somebody says, do you believe yes or no? Do you know yes or no? There can be an agenda. Usually if somebody, and I learned this through journalism school, usually we don't ask yes or no questions, especially in journalism. Because the idea in journalism, and again, this is my background, is that we're trying to get to some kind of truth, some kind of story. And if I want to get to know somebody, I'm not just going to ask them a yes or no question, because in my head, if that person says yes, I would judge them. If they say no, I will judge them. And so we need to move beyond. And so usually what I like to say is the question we should be asking is, what do you believe about God? And then the person can tell you what their beliefs are. But to say, do you believe yes or no? Do you know yes or no? To me, in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily fit the complexity of, ideas and gods and whatever. Whether you believe or not is not the point. It's just that things are more complicated, and I would rather have a much larger conversation rather than yes, no, yes, no. And so with that, I am done my presentation. I thank everyone for listening. I know it was a little bit shorter than last time, last couple times. I am going to clip this out and put this on my channel in the next upcoming week. But I hope you enjoyed, and please also look forward to next week when we talk about again secular, non-theistic philosophies and so forth. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Am I on mute? No,
Yeah,
okay,
it was great, Mark.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys.
I still don't know what I am.
I like that one. It said the Omni one. They believe in. What was that? What you believe in everything, right, or something? Or
Yeah,
they believe that. Yeah,
Yeah, the Coldplay religion.
yeah.
Right. That's what I'm calling it.
It was
now.
all yellow.
I'm Coldplay. That's a yes.
Hey, listen,
I know
man,
Chris Martin's crazy, but I do well, crazy in a good way. But I do celebrities sometimes can be I don't know what I'm trying to say. I appreciate
Crazy.
Crazy, right? Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. I appreciate an inclusive take on things, even if, I don't know. I don't know that, all of the religions. Well, that's why we're doing this is to kind of understand and find our own reality from this and find where we are. Is God a 70-foot deity with a big beard just looking down on us, or is he and I use he, and I know there's some discussion going on about pronouns. He in the Christian Bible sense of it is that entity, something very much more non-corporeal. Who the heck knows? Do we just get buried and are eaten by worms? Is there are many different approaches, and that's one of the reasons why I love this series that you're kind of taking us down. Is I was one of those who considered myself, I'm agnostic, and I guess if Ron Reagan, not Ronald, but if Ron Reagan is an atheist, maybe I'm an atheist. That seems okay, because it's not what some people think that it means, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it is much more nuanced than that. And we actually had we had several comments about that. Sophia had commented liking the nuanced approach better. Free Xenu said, "I agree with what you think, Mark. I don't think it's a yes or no." We have, and you made comment to this, Mark, at the beginning. Yeah, it's kind of the black and white, the yes and no, has become a little more, I don't know, popular, or a little more noticeable over the last handful of years. Not only in religion but in society, right? We are living in a much more black and white society. You are A or you are B. Politically, you are a Democrat or you are a Republican, a conservative or a liberal. You are an X or a Y. You can't be somewhere in the middle of. And I'm not, not just talking about politics, but in the world, you can't be somewhere in the middle. You have to be for or against. You have to be pro this or against this, yay this or nay this. And that's definitely something that I think society has. That's, I think, why we've seen it in religion as well, is because people are trying to go, I am X, I fit in this X pocket. Well, you don't have to fit in the X pocket. You can be in the X or the Y or the Z or the J or the K or the M or the L. You can be anywhere. It is an individual thing. Religion and the theories of religion are. They exist for reasons, but as far as an individual's choice within there, you don't have to be an A or a B. You can go, it can be the buffet. I want a little bit from this and a little bit from that, and that's okay. And that's okay. So yeah, that nuanced direction of kind of that, whatever. I mean, understanding that there are more than an A and a B, that there are many, and you can be part of many, or you can be part of one that accepts many, or I think I just think people have lost that vision, have lost that ability to see beyond the black and the white, and it is what it is. But so a presentation like this, reminding, in many cases reminding, in other cases really introducing people to a much more nuanced approach to religion is I think nothing but healthy. So yeah,
thanks. And I've always people who say the buffet, can't have the buffet. Who cares? Like, every single person in the world takes from multiple sources in life. Like, every experience that we have, which is multiple experiences, we take from it. So yeah, some people don't like the buffet, but like, the buffet is effing great. You ever been to a buffet? It's great. You get to taste more than one food. It's great.
Love
what
the
I mean?
buffets.
And you find what you want. If you're just going for the, buttered noodles all the time, okay, good. But like, if there's more than that, it's great. So this idea that, I've said it before, I'll say it again. So why I try every presentation that I do will have some kind of philosophical approach. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I don't like doing that. But mine is what's called epistemological pluralism. It's a very simple idea that says that knowledge has many sources. So we can have two conflicting truths at the same time, because each of those things contains something that is true. And it's a challenging perspective, because I look at it, and I know that we have people here who grew up in religions, and I know, Joey, you also went through a cult too, and it can be very difficult to say, well, what was true about that horrible experience you went through? So in Scientology, what was true about Scientology? What was true about Scientology in my case was that it was a scam. That's the truth. So I took stuff that I knew about that was true, and now I'm applying it to my life, and I'm not alone. Everyone else is doing that. Everyone else has their personal experience. And anyone, and I tell you, anybody, I don't care if they're religious or not religious, that says there is an objective, rational reality, or whatever kind of religious or spiritual context that would be, there's only God, and there's one truth, and it's the Bible, right? That's full of crap too, because everybody has these similar experiences. So it's like, we are influenced by our religious upbringing or lack thereof, of our education system, of our culture, of our language, of our heritage. Like all of those things amount to something within us. And I don't believe that people can just get rid of them by converting to or from something. I still think in the end, people are people. And so I've been actually kicked out of different groups, lots of different groups, guys, both religious and non-religious, like even atheist and humanist groups, because I like to challenge people. I like to tell people, like, I know that you might have gone through a horrible experience or something, but even today, I know that there are things in my personality that are Scientological. Like I know that. I don't like that. I don't want to admit that. But Scientology is still in me, right? Like they indoctrinated me with a form of communication. They indoctrinated me with certain things. 98% of it was negative and horrible, but the 2% of it that wasn't that bad, I'm still a part of me. So we can't ignore those things, right? Like I'm obsessed with looking up words in dictionary. That's because of Scientology. It's not to say that that's a bad thing, right? It's not. Like it's not a bad thing. Well, the whole thing I presented to you here are dictionary definitions. So Scientology taught me that, but it's not a bad thing necessarily, even though Scientology is bad. So that's a nuanced position. So we take all these things, with us. And so it's just inevitable. So I think we just have to be honest with ourselves. What I don't like is, again, whether someone is a fundamentalist in a religion or a Randian objectivist where everything is through this tunnel vision, of there's only one truth and whatever. It's nonsense. And I don't care, again, if they're religious, non-religious, like who cares? The tunnel vision stuff and just doesn't make sense to me. So when I do these presentations, again, I try to give the person or the people, the audience, as much of an option as possible. And then after that, guys, it's up to you. It's not up to me. You can ask me what my opinions are. I'll give them to you, but it's not up to me anymore. Now that you've had this presentation, now it's you,
Excellent. It's funny you said that, Mark, because, and don't quote me, but I believe Aaron said that that's the only thing that he thinks is a good idea is to look up words from a dictionary. And it's the same thing he got from Scientology also.
That's right. Yeah. And it's another thing too. So, before I joined Scientology when I was in high school, one of my favorite books, at least, is 1984 by George Orwell. Of course, that has a whole thing about changing words and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I always enjoyed that. So I don't know what comes first. I don't know if that, that 1984 idea, which is also ironic because not only does Scientologists recommend 1984, but they are 1984. But I still love that book. So, I was taught those kinds of things. But, again, it's like you have your own life and now it's up to you. Like I'm just giving you different options. And the people that won't like this, because I know there won't be people who don't like it, are the people that are too stuck in their own head. And the people who might be profiting, because there's a lot of people, as Denver Stevo said, there are people that profit from other people's ignorance and also from an absolutist mindset, right? And profit doesn't mean money. It means an increase in membership. It means someone will vote for me. It means someone will spend their time. Like it's not just cash, right? Economically speaking, a profit is not just money. So you know what? Like, yeah, it's a little bit more complicated. And maybe I'm arguing for semantics sometimes and maybe, whatever. But anyway, that's just what I think. So.
Excellent.
Could I share some of the questions and comments I've got on my channel?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Great. So first one. Oh God, the text is so small.
Here, take my glasses.
Religion. There we go. I have to read it off here. Religion is a coercive and controlling behavior and seeks to limit free thinking. So my belief is in a secular society. The belief in a higher power is the human mind trying to make sense of life. Comment from Rock and Roller 912.
I guess. I mean, sure. But again, when we generalize religion, it's like, yeah, it is for the religions that are like that. But then you can find religions that aren't. So then, okay, it applies to some. It doesn't apply to everything. Secular society is great, meaning that people are free to decide whatever religion they want or they don't. And a lot of religious people are very strongly secularists, which means they don't believe in the combination of religion and state, including myself, which is also something that's incredibly toxic in the US and other countries. When churches and mosques and synagogues and temples and whatever have an alliance or a political alliance with politics, it doesn't benefit anybody. So, yeah, just okay. But I agree with some of that. I don't with others, but okay. I do appreciate the
Yeah,
comment.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Next one. This is Free Senior Project says, I never saw this before, but pantheism is like the book It in the End. It by Stephen King.
Oh,
I've never read that book.
okay.
Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've never read that book, so I apologize. Yeah.
Oh, me neither. Okay.
I saw the movie.
Thank you.
Rock and Roller 912 says, that's me. I'm a God hater.
Cool.
And final one. I've had the truth discussion with a scientist friend recently. We both agree there was no truth, only theories.
Yeah. Could be. Again,
Okay.
could be. That's. I mean, I think I think one of the problems sometimes when people are really heavy into debates, and I've been like this, by the way. If you're always in debate mode and you can't have a discussion, you're never going to. You are never ever going to get anyone onto your side. You know, like just let it go. And also the other thing is I like learning about logical fallacies. But if everything that everybody says is a logical fallacy, you're not doing it right, especially if you can't let it go and just have a discussion. Like, yes, there are strawman fallacies. I mentioned that last week. Those are good. But if you simply think that everything is a straw man, or like, just let it go. Just try to have a discussion with someone, eye to eye, face to face, and that's it.
Absolutely. Daniel Sanders says we have to make some sense of our existence, human condition, and everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that's why religion exists, right? Is some form of making sense, and science has come along. I won't say science didn't exist when the Bible was written, but I think more has come from science as well. And you find what I don't know. You find what you believe. Let me just see here. I believe this is a great one from Carini. I believe the reason some people picture God as such, as a tall man with a beard staring down, they wish to put in a tangible form. I don't think God is just an omnipotent being that I don't think God is just an omnipotent being that loves us, in my opinion. No, I think he's I think God is, I don't know. I don't know. You're right. God is, it's what is God to you? And I think for all of us, it's something different. Is it an omnipotent being? Is it a higher state of being? Is it, that's what we'll discover. Somebody named Joe, I don't know who this person is. Says one of my Christian friends says God is love. I've heard that too. When asked to define, he also refers to God as she or they. I appreciate that.
This is my friend Simon Hill. Big shout out to you if you're watching this.
Simon.
Simon. I wrote a foreword for one of his books. He writes Christian themed books and religion themed books. Interesting bloke.
What was the one of my favorite? Actually, my favorite Kevin Smith movie is Dogma, and I think there's a lot of interesting exploration of religion and Catholicism and all of that is approached from that movie. But at the end, when Alanis Morissette comes down and is God. And it is a she. Shocking in 1999 that God is a she. Oh my goodness. And that her, her sound is deafening, and which is why she has Alan Rickman as her voice. But just an interesting approach. I appreciate the she. I do kind of see if there is a pronoun for God. I absolutely agree. It's a they. It's kind of a more than one. Kind of an all. Daniel had comment that he didn't think God uses pronouns. God themselves probably does not, but we need pronouns to describe God for sure. So, but yeah, it's kind of a great observation there. Yeah, we're probably not even hims and hers, and when God looks down on us, I don't know. We are just thems.
Mhm.
But
Well,
go ahead. Yeah.
so to note, that's also language. In Hungarian, we have the same word for he, she, and it, which is pronounced which is an O with two accents. So when the Bible is translated into Hungarian, God is just So is it he, she, or it? It doesn't matter because there's no genders, no gender
Oh.
differentiation in Hungarian. So this is probably something that happened when the Bible was translated, possibly, and of course
Makes
because
sense.
we still have a very patriarchal society, but it was definitely higher, when Bible was being translated. So again, at the time, people used to say mankind. Hubbard used to say that in the 50s. He
Yeah.
used to say mankind and man. This, man is doomed. Man is this. We've changed it as of the 1990s to be more inclusive. But some languages don't recognize gender, like Hungarian. So it's just and again, that's a subjective thing. That's a subjective cultural thing that God is a man, because who knows? Different culture, different language, different pronoun.
It's the same, by the way, in Farsi, Turkish, Georgian, and Malay. All have the same word for he, she, and it. And I'm sure there's others,
Wow.
but they're the ones I'm aware of. So
Absolutely.
it's more common than you
It's
think.
amazing. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And again, only because I know Hungarian. But maybe I don't know about Finnish and Estonian. I'd like to actually look that up to see if they have a difference or not. I think they probably wouldn't, but who knows? So,
And
yeah,
today
thanks
I've
for that,
learned
Joe.
Hungarian is one of them as well. So thank
Yep.
you.
Interesting. We also have Sophia. Have a few from Sophia here. The bringer of light perspective is highlighted at the entrance of the Tyrolean Regional Museum. Really cool.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that.
Tyrol is a region that is split between north, which is in Austria, and south, which is in Italy, and they're normally
Okay.
German speakers. So it'll be either in Austria or Italy. So if Matt, you could be more specific on where that is, because I'd like to actually look that up. What city, for example, that museum is in?
Sophia also made a comment that I don't know why it hit me. This is one of the and I accidentally deleted the comment, or I would post it. Completely different subject. Well, not completely different subject. It's She pointed out that Job makes God look really sadistic. That is I don't know why that hit me. That's one of those stories from the Bible that I've kind of always I don't know. Every time something really crappy happens to me, I go, "My God, am I just Job again? What's going on here?" And it's something that even not identifying myself as a Christian anymore, I do find that kind of like Marcus said, or like Mark said, there are those things that still stick with you, like checking words in the dictionary, or going to those stories and those metaphors and those things that I was baptized. I was baptized a Christian. I was what was my first communion? I was a Lutheran. I went through the process, and So a lot of that, a lot of that still sticks, and I do sometimes, can relate to. I find myself relating to Christian Bible stories. So so that just stuck out with me. Anyway, here's one. Here's a great one again from Sophia. Dawkins is about as much of a believer in his view in some ways as some theistic believers. I found one flaw of atheism to be the absolute belief in something non-verifiable. I don't know, Mark. What do you think about that, Mark?
Long time ago, back in 2006, right when the God Delusion was published, a lot of people in my generation, the millennials, right, that was like, a lot of people became atheists. And again, it's based on personal experience. So a few years after that, I sat down and I read that book, and I just thought it was not a good book. I just thought it was written very poorly, and there was a lot of what are called anger statements. And I have a really big problem with anger and anger statements because I have anger issues. And I looked at that and I thought, even if this, listen, could be real, right? Like we always have to give an idea weight. So yeah, atheists could be true, 100%. But it's more of how it is presented. And one of the things I do not like about a lot of the I hate to use this term, organized atheism or organized skepticism or whatever, is the idea of like super rationality and rationalism, which is that your personal experiences don't matter. So if you have a religious experience, you're just delusional. But if you have an anti-religious experience or a counter-religious experience, well, that's rational. I don't understand that. I don't get that. And again, that could be coming from my background, but I never really believed in that very much. And even when I was invited as an ex-Scientologist to speak at groups like the Center for Inquiry and humanist associations and the Oasis network, I just could never get any of those to stick. And that again is a personal experience. There are people who find a lot of solace in those communities. They find what they're looking for in those communities. I tried for a very long time to find solace in that, but it kept going back to personal experience and overgeneralizations. And even if it's true, I don't know. I'd rather be more open, and I'd rather be less arrogant, and I'd rather be more pluralistic than being, whether it's an objectivist or a rationalist or a religious fundamentalist. It all is cut from the same cloth. And that is, it's from a very, I think, toxic thinking, which is that, one person or one group can know everything. And whether that excuse is religion or quote unquote religion, which is a misuse, or quote unquote science, which is a misuse, it doesn't matter. We have to at the end of the day realize that we don't know shit. And that's okay, right? We can know some things, but there's going to be a massive amount of information about the universe and humanity and society that we just don't know about, and that's okay. And maybe there's a personality trait that is inherent in some people who have to know everything about everything, and they have to be certain, and that could transcend religion, it can transcend atheism and secularism, but there has to be something about having to believe that one person or one group has the knowledge. And again, as an ex-Scientologist, I have this spider sense where if somebody is speaking in absolutes, and if it reminds me too much of a cultic way of thinking, my spider sense tingles. And that happens a lot. That's happened to me in religious groups, in secular and atheist groups, in companies, in meditation groups. Like again, it transcends what doesn't matter what the group is. It's the mentality. So that's just my opinion. And again, I want to always tell people one of the problems that I have with sometimes with criticizing atheism is that atheists are very maligned, especially in the United States. I think that's wrong. There are surveys out there that say that like atheists and Muslims are the least reliable people in the United States, and this is coming from Christians and believers. I think that's disgusting. So I always want to say I'm criticizing individuals. I'm criticizing their activities. I'm not criticizing what you believe in or what you lack believe in. I'm just criticizing the individual, and it's okay to do that because you can criticize people who I agree with too. So just to let you know, if anybody wants to criticize a philosopher I agree with, Karl Popper. Okay, I love Karl Popper. So if you want to criticize him in front of me, do it. I love it. So that's all. That's all I'm saying. So just to be a little forthright, I'm a
I really
Popperian.
can't stand that Karl Popper. Never heard of him.
Oh, there you go. It's fine. I accept it. But again, it's not a personal attack. Again, it's not a personal attack against anybody and their beliefs. And that's this. I always want to make that clear because again, we're talking about the ideas. But if we're talking about someone like Richard Dawkins, it's unfortunate. I don't know what he's gone in through his life. You read The God Delusion. He grew up he grew up in Nairobi, Kenya, when, during colonialism, when the British were trying to put down the Mau Mau revolution, and they were using religion to do that. And so I guess if I was in his shoes, maybe I turn out that way too. I don't know, but that's all.
Fair enough.
No, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, Mark, I think you're spot on. It's about an extremist mindset, isn't it? It's this idea that this idea of certainty and this kind of extremist mindset of, just what you said. It's so spot on.
Evelyn says Dawkins is a very angry man. Makes me want to say, tell me where the God you don't believe in hurt you, which does not mean I think that all atheists are like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Show me on the doll where the fake God hurt you. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What I say is it's really sad, and this can go both ways, but it's angry at God for not existing, which is something that, if you don't believe, then it's okay. Like, that's fine. But the anger part, and again, a lot of times, and I just want to add my personal opinion here, there are groups that are peer support groups called Recovering from Religion, Beyond Religion, Beyond Believing or Leaving Religion, or whatever they're called. I have found them, at least in my experience, to harness that anger and exploit your anger. And I just find that, if you need to talk to people, a therapist is going to help more than going to a group of angry people who are angry. And it's the same. If you are questioning your religion, there's nothing wrong with that. You should have absolute freedom to do that if you want to drop your beliefs. But these living without religion groups, and which I ran for a couple of years in the city of Toronto, it's just a toxic anger bubble. Recovering from religion, just go see a therapist if you can. I also acknowledge that if you don't have a job, it can be very difficult some places to get therapy. So I do understand, but try to avoid those because they're just toxic circles of anger, and it'll wear off on you, and you will lose a part of your life. Okay, like every time you're angry, it's so unproductive. So anyway, again, just a little suggestion. You don't have to do that, but just a suggestion.
Oh, fair enough. Here, Sophia brings up, this is from later in the conversation. Always found the pressure to have to reject something very telling that someone tries to polarize rather than allowing room for discourse. Yeah. And again, that's to your point, Mark, of, if people are talking in absolutes, if people are, denouncing something to promote something else, the spidey senses go up. That's the again, just that polarization of society here today with the, this is positive, it's A or B, right? You don't get choices. You get a left or a right. And that's it. So 100%, Sophia, agree with that completely. Here, just so we, before I forget it, Museum of Tyrolean Regional Heritage is Innsbruck, Tyrol, Österreich.
Österreich is, of course, Austria. Österreich, yeah, it's Austria, of course.
Yes.
The Eastern Empire,
yes.
or the Eastern Kingdom.
And Nord Tyrol as opposed to Süd Tyrol, which is in Italy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since the First World War, it's complicated. I think Mark might have covered this in a previous one. Yeah.
Yeah, the South Tyroleans are separatists because they mostly speak German. And so they would like to either be part of Austria or have their own nation. And that's been around since, the end of World War One. So
Got
maybe
it.
one day,
Wow.
who knows?
Got it.
Never knew that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Joni and Evelyn love Dogma. Absolutely. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, see it. Even if just for the humor of the thing. This Joe person again is pointing out the obligatory God is a man because only a man could F up the universe this much. Hear, hear. I don't disagree.
I'm coming around to the idea that women should run society, actually. I used to be like, oh, well, the patriarchy is a myth. It's not. First of all, I was wrong about that. And second of all, it's like, let's let, you know what? Even if they ruin it, let's just let women have their fun and have their freedom for the next, 2,000 years. Let's just do it. Who cares? I'll step back. I don't care.
It only takes like 2.5 minutes into a 10-minute Taylor Swift song for her to scream out "F the patriarchy." So she's
good.
right. Yeah,
It's right. So it's good.
Great song, by the way. If you sit through all 10
please
minutes
stress
of
your checks too.
it. That's right.
And even if they screw it up, it doesn't matter. Because it can't be any worse than what men have done.
Absolutely. And if it's just as bad, hey, that's fair. That's fair. We deserve it after all this time. Here, Sophia says the God is love thing is a quote from the first book of John. So, okay. I didn't know where it came from, but
today I learned.
There we go. Yeah, I know I'd heard it. Creepy B5. Love you, Creepy. I was in Catholic school for 8 years, going to church 3 times a week, also every Sunday. We couldn't afford Catholic school after 8 years. So I was glad and relieved. Oh,
nice.
Thank goodness the money ran out. It can be a lot. I just religion in itself can be a lot, and I won't judge either way, but I understand the what you went through, sympathetically, not empathetically. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Here we go from Joni. The Book of Job is a great example of how God can be a douche. That's my interpretation. Mine too. Take it as you will, everybody. But God was a douche in that book, and others as well. But
the Abraham and Isaac story is kind of douchey too. I mean,
oh yeah.
Sacrifice your son? Nah, forget it. But again, I like going by the non-literal sort of version and whatever. So I don't think those events literally happened, but subjectively we can read into whatever it is, and if we take it as the worst thing we've ever read or the best thing we've ever read, it's subjective. So,
oh my goodness,
as is life.
It serves a purpose. Sophia says, I think it was Heisenberg that said that on the bottom of every glass of science, there's still God or a higher being. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is when people try to convince you that like science has proven that God doesn't exist. I mentioned this before too. If you take a science class in most universities, you'll have an absolute introduction of what science can do and can't do. So what science can do is, use the scientific methods, because there's more than one, to discover wonderful things. And there are miracles of modern science, whether it's, living longer, vaccines, health issues, there's all kinds of wonderful, amazing things, medications. But the stuff it can't do is it can't tell us who to vote for, can't tell us what religion we should or shouldn't follow, can't tell us how to be moral. And a lot of the popular Four Horsemen atheists will say science can basically do everything. And that is a very Western idea of science that only really exists in post-World War II science faculties, which by the 90s, they had changed their mind anyway. And since then, it's been more inclusive. So, okay, I get it. If you believe the Earth is, 6,000 years old, it's hard to be a geologist, but not everyone who's religious believes that. And science is a wonderful, wonderful thing that doesn't have to necessarily come like this. It doesn't have to. Can sometimes, but it doesn't have to. Anyway.
6,000 years. I thought it was 75 million years, right, LRH?
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
right.
That's right.
Yeah, he wrote down how long the universe was, and it was like a 1 and then I don't know 250 or 300 zeros, so it's like a trillion. Yeah, anyway. It was a lot. It was older than the actual age of the universe, which I guess is
Whoa.
supposed to be around 8 billion years. So I think it was something like 1,000 or more times that.
That's funny.
All right. Yeah. To Kim's point here, over here, don't forget to smash the like button. There are 4 like buttons to smash. Don't forget to smash the like button at Mark A. Turi. That's MarkATuri. Don't forget to smash the like button at Joe. It's at Joe DeCeppo, right? Yep. Okay. DUS. Oh shoot! I just had it. Joe DeCeppo. At Chad, Clearwater Chad, and at Denver Stevo. I think Marilyn's running the. I know she's not here today. I think we've still got her running the stream on hers too. So if you're watching from Maryland's, just get all around the place and smash those like buttons. Make sure you subscribe to all of us. Some great programming all around. Mark's got not just these great lives that we've done, but a lot of his historical streams that he's done with others. So fantastic. Joe has got some incredible stuff. I'm still bummed that I wasn't able to hang with you on Party Thursday or whichever it was. It was Pants Free Thursday. Was that what it was? Chad's got his waterfalls and his tours and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, you can see all of his pre-shows and all of that there. And I got some junk on mine too. So swing by. Definitely do so, please. I can never turn down a comment about Stewie of Family Guy. That's all I read. While being interviewed by James Lipton, enough said, said the God of the Old Testament is so deliciously evil. The fucked up things he did in that book. Wow. Oh, Stewie is, and I know Stewie, speaking from the words of Seth MacFarlane. I know Seth has, his own tales with religion and with his identifying himself. Did you guys know? Some of you may have known this. Seth MacFarlane had a plane ticket to get on a plane from Boston Logan on September 11th, 2001, and because he was running late, he didn't make it on that plane. And thank God for. What he's brought. Seth, I think Seth is a very funny person. I know he pushes boundaries, and I appreciate that. I personally appreciate that. And that's just one more person that we would have lost to something horrific, and 2, imagine him going, oh my God, and kind of having his own battle beyond that. I look forward to a story at some point in his life, maybe a true autobiography or something that really kind of explores his discovery, his challenges with religion. I think he identifies himself somewhere in a more atheistic state today, but I would be interested to hear Seth's true story, and not just through the voice of Peter and Stewie and Brian and the gang at some point. So I know he certainly explores some of these social issues very well through Family Guy and through the Orville, and it's but anyway, that's Seth. And yes, thank you, Freezino. I can never turn down a comment about Stewie Griffin.
That was a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Here from Sophia, if your idea doesn't stand up to discourse, this is us. Yes, yeah, absolutely. If you have an idea, it can't stand up to discourse. If you end up going, just because, you know, rethink you need to rethink your theory. Again, religion or non. We're just kind of talking about a society in general, but absolutely, that's a very good approach. If it just ends with yelling and arguing, you're probably either not a good debater or you're standing on the wrong platform. So,
Yeah.
Sophia also says, "Do you know the author Arto Pasolina? Pasolina. Arto Pasolina. He wrote an amazing book, Der Sohn des Donergotes. You might like it. That might have helped if I had umlauts. But
So that translates to the son of the Thunder Havers, Thunder,
okay.
Thunderborn, Thunder Havers, something like that.
Wow.
Hmm.
That is on des Donergotes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Donergotes.
Donergotes.
That heavy on that des. Could never get I speak Hungarian, which is 18 cases, but I could never do German's 4 with their des. That always tricked me. Des? Dein? Deine? Ein? Meine? Meines? I don't know why, but Hungarian with their 18 cases, no problem. 4 in German, and I don't understand des and minus, meine.
Darfisch auf die Toilette gehen.
Nein, du kannst nicht.
Okay. Fair enough.
Bleib da, bitte. Bleib da.
I said, may I please go to the bathroom? And I was told no.
I said, stay there until you
Nein.
finish the stream.
That's true.
If I have to wait, so do you.
Oh, fair enough. Evelyn says, I'm also bothered by the idea that Job was compensated for the loss of his wife and children with a new wife and new children. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Job went through a lot. But understood. So, we're just had some great conversation going on in here too. Here. Sophia, the Book of Job allows you to call God somewhat of a sadist in a paper about governance and religion in a scientific context. Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what we're doing, isn't it?
A lot of concepts of gods, like we mentioned in polytheism, right? The hard polytheists would say that their gods were, giant people, and they had different kinds of personalities. So when we look at like in the religious studies aspect from what we discovered last time, it's like, people need to make sense of it. And a lot of those characteristics that are applied to God in the Hebrew Bible / Old Testament were consolidated, because this is why I think sometimes God is looked at with all these different types of emotions, is because certain cultures had like gods that were very sadistic, but that was only one God. Then another God was always happy and always loving. That was another God. And so I think what happened was, at the time, when monotheism was becoming a thing, specifically in Judea and Israel and Judea in the ancient times, they kind of consolidated all of those different types of gods, and they had multiple different emotions and multiple different characteristics, and so it can kind of come up as different contradictory. But if you think about it, just sometime before, they were all represented by different gods, so they had to make sense of, okay, now we have one God. So the one God is not going to just be something that they organically create out of their own heads. They're going to have to consolidate that with different cultural perspectives that they already knew. And so when the people were writing the stories, they were probably doing that, and then those stories, maybe they didn't want somebody to do something, morally speaking. And so they had to scare people in some cases. And, they feared to eat certain things. Like, it's just, we know now because we live, thousands of years later, and we have good science. But, at the time, we have to think about people at the time, and they didn't have the resources that we do. And so they came up with these things. And it doesn't excuse any abuse or anything like that. But at the same time, they were thinking in much different terms than we were, and they only lived until they were 30. So, different time, much different time.
Yeah. I'm posting the banners so everybody gets the addresses, our addresses here. I saw somebody was saying they couldn't find a couple, so
Yeah, no worries.
wanted to make sure
Thank
that
you very
was
much.
Yeah. Now if I can find Chad. There we go.
Thanks, guys.
There it is. Clearwater Chad 9037, as I like to say, 90210. So, absolutely. And then there's me. Absolutely. So the chat has started to digress into a bit of a debate over driving. So I'll leave it at that for that. But Daniel, look what you started there. But here we go. Renee.
The trutheism.
Yes. Just left Costco. What a nightmare. Never go to Costco on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
You go to Costco on a Tuesday about evening or I would say like right as they open, right?
Yeah.
Hit them up. I know everybody's working. You got to take a day off when you're going to Costco.
Yep.
And never go on a Saturday. Oh, this is what's this all about? There are 7 facets of God in the Bible. Like douche, nice guy, sad guy, happy guy, that kind of thing. Is that the facets? I don't know.
Selfish, altruistic. Yeah.
Daniel says, "Hey, Renee Costco, huh? Yeah, that's a bad dream. All right. Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Is Sam's Club still around? Because I always preferred Sam's Club.
I prefer Costco because I'll tell you that Kirkland stuff, that's amazing. But Sam's Club still exists. It's I actually live in a community now where there is a Sam's Club in the community, but you've got to drive to get to a Costco. Now, rumor is they're going to be building a Costco here, but it's not going to be on the nicer side of town. It's going to be on the older side, which should rejuvenate that a little bit. That'll be fine. And I say town, I really mean town. I don't mean this is not a city. But so there should be a Costco, and that'll be exciting because nobody likes to drive. But I love still to this day, and ladies and gentlemen, even if you're not a member of Costco, most Costco's you can drive up over by the tire shop on the side, and they have the manual fill your tires with the nitrogen gas stuff.
Yep.
And nobody checks to make sure you're a member. They don't come and look for your card over there. It's just a self-service.
Well, they will now.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's because I'm from Denver, Idaho. So Idaho Costco's check out. But yeah, it's something they apparently. So I used to love that, and now I'm no longer a member because it's too far of a drive, and there's a Sam's and stuff's all the same. It's just different packaging kind of thing. Although Kirkland versus Maker's Mark or whatever it is, whatever Sam's Choice is. I'm much a prefer. So anyway, I fill my tires at Costco, and I'm not a member. That's all I'm saying.
Nice.
That's all I'm saying. So
that's an impeachable offense in my country.
I'm sure they'd cut my fingers off for doing that.
That's funny.
Here's we got. I love Sophia's contributions here. Take not eating pig meat. It went bad fast with a nomadic lifestyle, therefore it got forbidden. Oh.
Yep.
Oh, simple as that.
Most likely, again, the idea is most likely because, if it's not cooked properly, if it's not cooked, you can't just eat it raw. And so, I mean, again, it depends. Like I personally, I don't eat pork because it's not kosher. But again, it's like one of those things where people ask me all the time, are you afraid that you're going to be punished for not eating pork? I'm like, no, it's just because that's what it says. Don't eat pork, so I don't eat pork. If I accidentally eat pork, I'm not looking up in the sky thinking a lightning bolt is going to hit me. It's just part of the law. some
Yeah.
people are, unfortunately. I do know some Orthodox Jewish people who are literally terrified that if they eat pork, something bad will happen. But
I
it
know
won't,
some myself. Absolutely, no, without a
Wow.
doubt.
It won't. But
Here, I just want to
whatever.
point. I just want to.
Interpretation.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I just wanted to point this out here, Steve Britton. We're glad you're here. I
Yep.
know I'm pissed at the notifications too, folks.
Wow.
Do this. Put this in your head from time to time, and this is not a. This is just something that I found helps. It doesn't fix the problem. Every once in a while, maybe once every couple weeks or so, when you're on a page, go to the subscribe button, and even though it says subscribed and it's got the little bell on there for all notifications, or you go to the notify me thing on the page. When you're on the page, click on the subscribe. In fact, everybody do it now. So hit subscribed and reselect the all bell. It sometimes helps refresh things. The fact of the matter is, it's just YouTube's got so much going on with these algorithms, and my God, there's millions and billions of people on YouTube these days that for some reason it just doesn't always work. But I found that sometimes, like Aaron Smith Levin, I have pretty much stopped getting his notifications unless every other time I go in and I resubscribe to his page, it sometimes will refresh it for a couple of days. And then, but yeah, there have been, I will get the, if Aaron was on with, what's her name? Liz Gale yesterday. I got the Liz Gale will be on in 30 minutes notification because they had apparently planned this one. And then I got the Liz notification when they went live, but I did not get Aaron's notification when they went live, and I'm subscribed with full notifications to both. So just refresh it from time to time. I can't say it'll work 100% of the time. I'm sorry, Chad. Aaron Levin Smith.
That's right.
That's right. My bad. Always my bad. I know. But give it a refresh and see if it'll work. If it'll help out. Just kind of put that into your thing when you're on a page, even if it says you're subscribed. Just re-click it. Re-click the subscribe with the bell. As far as clicking the notify me thing on a page, that's hit or miss for me. And so I try, but the other option is leave your Discord open all the time and be on the Discord page, and maybe that'll tell you. But it's just YouTube is dumb these days because there are just too many of us bombarding it. I truly believe they keep trying to get better, and we get there. So, Creepy, you are never blocked. You will never ever be blocked. So
That's right.
yeah, give that a try. That should help. It should help. It won't fix it completely. It should help. So otherwise, the only option is you put it in your Outlook calendar and remind yourself that way, and that's just dumb. We shouldn't have to do that. So although somebody yesterday, I was on a page, I think I was in a chat with somebody, and they were trying to figure out when the best time for them to go on was. And they had actually put together this crazy schedule for the day. Kudos to them. But they said, okay, I see so-and-so's on it this time, so-and-so's on it this time, so-and-so's on it this time. And of course, the one thing that they missed was Levin Smith, who just pops up when he pops up. So good luck with that schedule, folks. But
Nice.
yeah. Anyway,
maybe 4 a.m. somewhere, 4 a.m. on a Thursday or something.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we all want everybody to see us live. That's just a fun feeling, and obviously it contributes to the chat that much better when folks are on live, like all of you are. But it doesn't always happen, and sometimes you do have to, sacrifice some for others and catch others on the tail end or whatever. Anyway, we love having you all here. Joni, absolutely. I haven't forgotten. We will absolutely coordinate and get a live stream about that. That's something I definitely want to talk about with you.
That's cool, Joni. Yeah, I have friends that are LDS. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. That temple stuff is something else.
I'm 100%, and I'm torn, and this is not any sort of challenge or anything to anybody that has left Mormonism, anybody's feelings towards Mormonism. I've said it before. I have some very close friends that are LDS to this day, and they are 1,000% happy being in the church. Yeah, they tithe. Yeah, there are things that they have to do. Their experiences are certainly different from Joni's experiences or Shalice's experiences from Cults to Consciousness. And, and it kind of falls into that same thing as religion itself does. There's not, there's not a yay or a nay. There's varying degrees, and varying experiences that people have. And I absolutely would love to talk to you about your experience. We'll dive into that. I'll get with you. I know you sent me the email on it, and we'll get it coordinated. I absolutely 100% promise you. I've not forgotten. I'm not blowing you off. I promise that. So, but we'll get there. Yeah, it's definitely a conversation to have. Folks, with that though, I think I don't want to blow everybody off. We've run about 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. And I think our chat has I think we've hit most of what everybody has kind of posted out here today. So Kim D. Hi. I'm preparing to share my journey leaving the church. Didn't know it was a cult until 2020. Yeah, wow. Fair enough. Fair enough. So
that's cool.
Yeah, Kim, that's I think you had said something about that, and forgive me. I don't mean to go, oh, I didn't know that, because I think I did, but I definitely would love to hear that. If you need a second, if you don't have and you want somebody secondary there to help ask questions or help steer things, let me know. I'm more than happy to be part of that. I think it's a fascinating journey whenever anybody leaves a church and has that discovery. We've certainly here on SPTV learned a lot about it through Scientology, but through Mormonism and through any other religion, to be honest, that's something we haven't as a group talked as much about. So we absolutely want to rock it out with Kim D. High. So anyway, hey, Willie Weed, glad to have you here right as we take off. I know you've been listening, so wonderful. To anybody on the replay crew, please drop comments below. It's always great for the algorithm. Hit the like, subscribe to all of our channels, please, and we look forward to seeing you guys again next week. So,
absolutely,
that's all I got.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, again, thanks for the support. And next week, again, we're talking about non-theistic religions and sort of secular philosophies. And again, thank you also for listening to my presentation this week. Appreciate it very much.
And
I think Joe wants to play, which I would like her to play.
Oh my God! Oh, I can't.
No! I'm doing the heart thing, like Chad.
Oh, the heart thing. Oh yeah. Hearts, everybody. There you go. While we take off, I'm gonna ask you guys all to watch Mike Rinder stare at some water. So enjoy, everybody.